Hello, this is Orion, administrator and co-owner of the Gluon game engine, and amongst 3 others. In this video, I'll be discussing what exactly Gluon is, or what it aims to be. First off, it is worth noting that this video is very early on in Gluon's development. Somewhere around 2010 to 2012, I, Orion, began examining the code of popular video game known as Garry's Mod. Over the course of about 4 to 5 years, I learnt Lua coding, alongside the secondary administrator of Gluon, Dr. Vrej, and the third, Captain Hazama. In learning what we learnt, we realised that programming was a very tricky job, but an occupying hobby nonetheless. That's when, in late 2014, around September, the concept for a game engine was developed. It would be called Gluon, taking the name of a subatomic elementary particle which holds together quarks in protons and neutrons. The name was chosen for the reason that it signifies unity and togetherness, and gives the engine a poetic feeling behind its definition. A slight issue arose when we considered what must be done with Lua to create a game engine. While it's all well and good playing around with a primitive coding language like Lua, you really do need to understand a different programming language, C++, to understand the inner workings of computers and how Lua calls functions between the C++ medium. With only little knowledge of C++, but tremendous knowledge of the inner workings of Lua, we were constrained to writing Lua modules, pieces of Lua code that were capable of running independently using Lua's built-in syntax. But in 2015, Lua's binaries were compiled. Lua 5.2.3 was compiled into a command line exe for Gluon's testing purposes. Shortly afterwards, a function which is used to close the command line was added from C++ to the Lua function library, meaning that our first ever successful C++ modification had taken place. This may sound like novice talk to a lot of coders watching at the moment, but we are learning after all. Now we're writing further modules for the command line in an effort to get everything ready before we implement graphics APIs. You may be wondering why we decided to pursue game development in the first place. Well, it's all about code. Between the administrator circle of Orion, Dr. Vrej, Gene Worm and Captain Hazama, we're a group that finds it somewhat difficult to put down the mouse and start writing scripts. It's as if we're wired to write all code all the day, and that's what stops us from quitting. But it goes somewhat deeper. With the Garry's Mod community slowly losing interest by the looks of things, we realised that we couldn't use Garry's Mod as a coding ground forever, and the best thing would be to move coding ground, specifically to one of our own design, where there is no community to carry on pleasing. Well, until the public gets it. Our motives are simple. We're motivated by the very fact that as the gaming community evolves, we must too. And in gaming evolution, you go from small to big. And from making mods and add-ons to making full-out games, that's kind of a big step we need to take. As for our goals, they're relatively simple too. First off, we want to bring something new to the table. Between the administrators of Gluon, we get a feeling of, if it's not our own, it's not good enough. Simply, we want to make everything freehand. Unity Engine was suggested by a few members of the group as an alternative to Gluon, but that soon lost its believability when we realised how simplistic it was. We want a challenge, something we can be proud of saying that we made. With such other game engines as Source, Blitz 3D and Unity, amongst many others already available, it can be tricky to see our motives. There's already such a wide selection already there to use, so why make something new? Well, if the world doesn't change, it's a boring world, and we want to bring something new to the table. Something that we can improve on ourselves. We want the freedom to make games with the engine not breaking every 10 minutes, and also the knowledge of how it all works. And when you're the one that made the engine, you already know how everything works, so it won't be that difficult to diagnose an error or a problem that you want to quickly fix. So, that should hopefully sum up most of the information for this video. Thank you for watching.